Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope your day and your week are off to a fantastic start. Got a new day, which of course means a new MLB Player Prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day and a new week comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 4 fresh new MLB player props to go ahead and share with you guys in today's MLB slate. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. We're on a little bit of a nice run here. Obviously, Friday, we cashed our Freaky Friday 5-leg parlay plus 593 odds. Not to brag. And then Saturday, we finished the week up with a 2-1 performance. Not anything crazy, but that's back-to-back winning days coming into this week and today's video. I know I said on Saturday I would do an extra video yesterday. Unfortunately, just caught up with things. Sunday's my day off for the pizza shop, so too much to do on Sundays, even on my rest day. So unfortunately, we didn't do a video yesterday, but we got a video today, a new week, and I'm feeling very confident going into this week. So with all that being said, we've got absolutely no time to waste. So let's dive right into today's MLB picks. All right, guys, starting things off, our first player prop in today's video comes from the Blue Jays-Orioles game, 6:35 p.m. first pitch. We're going Zach Eflin of the Baltimore Orioles over 2.5 earned runs. I'm grabbing this personally for -125 over on BetMGM. As is the case with most of these player props, they are available on multiple sports books for varying odds. I always tell you guys in each and every video, make sure to shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. It's very, very important in terms of finding the value in these player props. And just as a heads up, guys, don't worry. All of the final plays will be down below in the pinned comment to go ahead and follow along with. So if you guys don't watch the whole video or you miss some parts, you want to go look at what I actually rode with, they are down below in the pinned comment. So make sure to go ahead and check that out. Now, regarding the Zach Eflin player prop, it's really all about the matchup here. The data is not bad, but the matchup is fantastic. Let's jump over to the outlier screen here to go ahead and talk about this player prop a little bit here. Data, like I said, not great, but it's certainly not bad. 6 of his last 10 starts, he's cashed the over, averaging 3.7 earned runs per game over the last 10 starts, including 3 of his last 4 starts. He's cashed the over. So pretty good numbers there. If we look at the overall 2025 season data, he's made 13 starts this season. He's cashed the over in 7 of those 13 starts. That is, of course, a 54% hit rate, and he's averaging 3.31 earned runs per game this season. So really all we need to do here is have him match his average, and we'll be good to go. 3.31 earned runs. We only need him to get 3 runs to go ahead and cash the over. And like I said, guys, we'll get to it in just a second. The matchup is to die for here. Speaking of matchup, looking at the head-to-head data, Zach Eflin versus the Toronto Blue Jays. Some decent numbers. Again, not great, but not bad either. 3 of his last 5 starts against Toronto, he's cashed the over, averaging 3.4 earned runs per game over the last 5 matchups with the Blue Jays. So again, we just need to match his averages here and we'll be good to go. Now, he's played them 1 time, just once so far in 2025. Very early in the season, back on March 27th. A little too early. If you ask me, it's tough. It was probably Zach Eflin's first start of the season. And actually, we can go ahead and back look at the overall season view, and you can see, yeah, it was his first start of the year. So it's really hard to go off of what your first start looked like. Zach Eflin, again, and it's funny because we're talking like, oh, like he was bad. We need him to be bad to go ahead and cash the over. He actually was good in that first start. But Toronto was a very different team back on March 27th than how they are today. We'll talk about that in just a second. If we scroll down below here, the Toronto Blue Jays batting versus right-handed pitchers, we can see the overall data as well as the last 30-day data, and it is phenomenal. The Blue Jays all season long, and especially of late, have been the best hitting team in baseball versus right-handed pitchers. 310 batting average over the last month, 264 batting average overall. And you can go through all the numbers. OBP, slugging, WRC+, BA, BIP. They are phenomenal all the way through. And in a lot of categories, they have been like astronomically better over the last month. Look at BA, BIP. 296, that's the 10th best mark from an overall standpoint this year Over the last 30 days, they are the number 1 ranked team with a 344 BABIP. Toronto, they are the best hitting team versus righties of late, and it's not even close, really. And then looking at Zach Eflin, 5th percentile in batting average allowed. Normally, that's horrific, but obviously we're not betting under here, we're betting over. So him having a 297 batting average allowed works in our favor. ERA, FIP, BABIP, WOBA, all very high, all very elevated, which obviously is good when betting an over bet. All right, guys, our second player prop, moving right along here to the Diamondbacks-Tigers game, 6:40 p.m. first pitch. We're going Spencer Torkelson of the Detroit Tigers over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I'm grabbing this one personally for minus 130 odds over on DraftKings. But again, a lot of different options here. We got BetMGM, Sleeper, Hard Rock Bet, Underdog, Fliff, Novik, ProfitX, a lot of different options to go ahead and tail this player prop here. But minus 130 on DraftKings is what I'm grabbing it for personally. And if we go ahead and switch back over to the outlier screen here, you'll see the data is pretty solid again on this player prop for Spencer Torkelson. 6 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 1.8 hits, runs, RBIs per game over his last 10 games. Actually, we can narrow this down to the last 5. It's been pretty solid. 4 of his last 5 games, he's cashed the over, averaging 2.2 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 5 games. So pretty great run of late for Spencer Torkelson over the last 5 games. The further you search the numbers out, it's still solid, just not necessarily as impressive as the last week has been for him. And if we look at the entire 2025 season data for Spencer Torkelson, he's got a 53% hit rate on the season, and he's averaging 2.06 hits, runs, RBIs per game this year. So pretty good numbers across the board for Spencer Torkelson. Again, like the last player prop, there's no bad data here. Nothing necessarily pops out other than maybe the last 5 game data where you're like, whoa, he's on a crazy run. He's playing very well, which is obviously we just need solid numbers when it comes to our player props, especially betting overs. Now, the head-to-head data at first glance looks really, really solid. 100% hit rate across the last 3 matchups with Arizona. He's averaging 3.33 hits, runs, RBIs per game across those last 3 matchups with the Diamondbacks. That being said, all 3 games are from early last year, back in May of 2024, so well over 14 months ago now. So a little bit outdated. Again, I'm not saying you can't take anything from last year's numbers. These teams obviously don't play, especially being American League, National League, they don't play all that often, so you don't have a ton to go off of. It's something. It's definitely something, but take it with a grain of salt because it is outdated. Teams change drastically over time. Matchups change, so the head-to-head data looks good at first glance, but it is a little bit outdated data. And very quickly looking at the insights provided by Outlier, just kind of reiterating some of the things we've already talked about here. Spencer Torkelson has exceeded 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs in 5 of his last 6 games. Again, averaging 2.5 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 6 games. So he's been on a pretty good run over the last week or so. Overall, pretty solid, but the last week or so, he's been on a really phenomenal run. By the way, guys, if you like anything you see here so far in this video on the Outlier screen, we offer a special offer using the link down below in the description that gives you guys a 7-day free trial to check Outlier out for yourself. I've been praising Outlier for years, literal years now here on the channel. It's the sponsor of today's video. It's the sponsor of all my player prop videos, whether it be MLB, NBA, or NFL. It's the best sports betting tool on the market. And I only give you guys a little bit. There's so much more that Outlier provides that I only give you guys the tip of the iceberg. The only way to check it all out is to check it out for yourself. Again, one more time, link down below in the description. It gives you guys a 7-day free trial to check it out for yourself. Thank you to Outlier for being a proud sponsor of Guy Boston Sports and honestly helping us win money here with our sports bets. It's a very great tool that you will definitely love if you give it a chance. Okay, now switching back over to the Guy Boston Sports dashboard screen here. Look at the matchup here versus Eduardo Rodriguez, the pitcher for the Diamondbacks, and you can see right away a lot of red, a lot of things. I call them fall/Thanksgiving colors here. It's a very good matchup for Spencer Torkelson. Rodriguez has very much struggled this year with the Diamondbacks. Look at the numbers here. Spencer Torkelson, obviously a right-handed hitter. Eduardo Rodriguez versus right-handed hitters this year, 291 batting average allowed. A lot of red numbers there. A very high walk rate, high whip, high FIP, everything. Very good matchup here for Spencer Torkelson. And if we do look at the last 30 days, the last month for Torkelson, how he's been hitting the baseball versus left-handed pitchers like Eduardo Rodriguez, very solid numbers. 364 batting average with a 1.098 OPS versus lefties over the last month. So he's been on a very phenomenal run. And this isn't too unexpected. I mean, he's been pretty solid versus left-handed pitchers all year long. From a 2025 season perspective, he's batting 275 off of left-handed pitchers this year. So obviously not as high as 364, but let's be fair, the 2025 data, much larger sample size. But of late in particular, he's been destroying left-handed pitchers. He's got a matchup here versus a specific left-handed pitcher that's been struggling all year long. You know, obviously he's even weaker versus left-handed hitters, but even versus right-handed hitters, very low numbers. And the cherry on top of this beautiful player prop Sunday that we have here is the fact that even when you pull Rodriguez, the Diamondbacks bullpen, one of the worst in Major League Baseball this year, bottom 5 in ERA, bottom 5 in WHIP, and they've got a nice healthy mix of left-handed relievers and right-handed relievers. Especially if we get some of those lefties, that obviously could be very beneficial for us here. But again, this is a Diamondbacks bullpen that's not very good, a starting pitcher that's not very good, and like we talked about with Torkelson, if we go back up above, look at his overall numbers. Again, 53% hit rate on the year, 60% last 10, 80% last 5. So really phenomenal data here. It's all about the matchup here, but a very solid matchup for Spencer Torkelson as the second player prop in today's video. All right, guys, moving right along here, our third player prop in today's video. We've got Braves at Kansas City Royals, 7:40 p.m. first pitch. We got Spencer Strider of the Atlanta Braves under 5.5 hits allowed. We're grabbing this one a little higher than I like, minus 155 over on BetMGM. Like I say in most of my videos, the cap for me for straight/single bets is minus 150. If you are over minus 150, that's when you're in alternate line territory here. I'm willing to bend the rules, though, as I've talked about in the past. If it's minus 155, minus 160, I can go ahead and stretch it a little bit. But minus 155, I'm willing to go ahead and take the risk because I do think this is a very solid player prop. And the data, to me, is worth putting a little extra value on. So Spencer Strider over 5.5 hits allowed. We'll jump over back to the outlier screen here. And as you can see, the numbers are very solid here for Spencer Strider. 8 of his last 10 starts, he's cashed this under, giving up just 4.4 hits allowed per game over his last 10 starts. So a very good run of late, 4 of his last 5. If you want to narrow it even further, 8 of his last 9 starts, he's cashed this under. Pretty solid data. And if you go ahead and stretch those numbers out the entire 2025 season view, to be fair, he's only made 13 starts this season, but he has cashed the under in 10 of those 13 starts. That's a 77% hit rate, giving up just 4.31 hits allowed per game this year. So really good run for Spencer Strider, who's having a very solid season. Again, not as many starts as some of the other starting pitchers, but he very solid numbers with what we have to go off of for Spencer Strider. The insight provided by Outlier, just kind of reiterating what I just literally said, 8 of his last 9 starts, he's cashed the under, averaging 4.22 hits allowed per game over the last 9 starts. Only Baltimore's got the best of them with 7 hits back on the 4th of July. And if we scroll down below to the matchup data here, it's a solid matchup versus a Royals team that's not the worst hitting team in baseball, especially versus right-handed pitchers, but they're not a very good one either. You look at the 2025 data from an overall perspective, they are bottom 10, and over the last month, they're still bottom 10. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows here. You do see a very low strikeout rate, the hard hitting percentage, a little on the high side, which obviously is not great. To be fair, though, we're not really concerned with earned runs or extra base hits or stuff like that. We're just worried about hits in general. The BA/BIP, bottom 3 from an overall perspective and from an overall, from a last 30-day perspective, excuse me. It's not necessarily as juicy of a matchup as the last 2 player props have been, but it is still a good matchup. And again, looking at Spencer Strider's numbers this year, 214 batting average allowed. That's in the 84th percentile for pitchers. 275 BA/BIP. Very high strikeout rate at 29.6%. That's in the 93rd percentile. Across the board, pretty good numbers here for Spencer Strider. So I think it's a pretty solid player prop. Again, minus 155, not necessarily what I'm usually looking for from a value standpoint, but I do think the player prop is solid enough to go ahead and take a slightly elevated line. All right, guys, we have 1 player prop left in today's video. But first, before we finish off with our final player prop, we are about to hit the 15-minute mark in today's video. As always, guys, I appreciate those who watch through each and every single video here on the channel. It really does mean the world to me, to myself, to Ev, and to Trey, those who actually watch through. Yeah, you know what? I still have love for those who do just jump to the description and grab the picks, or the pinned comment, I should say, and grab the picks. But no matter what, I have a little extra love for those who do stick around and watch through the video until its very end. So if you are still watching this point, please comment 15 down below in the comment section. Again, we appreciate those who are watching. I just want to go ahead and give those people a shout out. So comment 15 down below to those who are still watching at this point in today's video. Or I guess if you're just lucky enough to fast forward to the point where I said this, you can still comment 15. It's all love. All right, guys, our fourth and final player prop in today's video. Moving on to the Phillies-White Sox game, 7:40 p.m. first pitch. We're going JT Realmuto of the Philadelphia Phillies over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. We're grabbing that for -135 over on BetMGM. That's what I'm grabbing it for personally. Again, Hard Rock Bet, DraftKings, Sleeper, Underdog, Novik, Flip, all these places, they have this player prop available for varying odds. All right, guys, one more time, jumping back on over to the outlier screen here. The data, again, very strong from a recent standpoint and still solid from an overall standpoint as well. JT Realmuto has cashed the over in 8 of his last 10 games, averaging 2.7 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 10 games. Go ahead and stretch that data out to the last 20 game data. Still very strong, 65% hit rate over his last 20 games. He's averaging 2.35 hits, runs, RBIs per game over the last 20 games. So again, you stretch it out a little bit, the data is still very strong. And then if we go ahead and look at the 2025 entire season view on this line for JT Realmuto, it's still solid, not as strong necessarily as the last 20 games or the last 10 games, but a 51% hit rate on the season, still more than half the time he's cashing the over, averaging 1.92 hits, runs, RBIs per game this season. So pretty solid data across the board here for JT Realmuto. Now the head-to-head data, not nearly as strong, but like we talked about earlier with, I forgot what player prop, I think it was the Torkelson player prop. Could be mistaken there. 33% hit rate, one of the last 3 matchups versus the White Sox, he's cashed the over. So that's not great at first glance. A, just smaller sample size, just 3 games, but B, it was over a year ago, April of 2024. We're talking over 16 months ago. These data points are from. So very much outdated data. Now the White Sox, you can make the argument they're just as bad as they were last year. But again, it's outdated data, so take it with a grain of salt. Not great numbers, smaller sample size, but it is what it is. You can take a little bit from it, but not too much. And we don't have to go into detail regarding the insight provided by Outlier because in this case, the insight the Outlier provided was just reiterating what we already talked about. 8 of his last 10 games, he had already cashed the over. So jumping on over to the Guy Boston Sports dashboard screen here, we can take a look at the matchup here with Davis Martin, the White Sox pitcher. Honestly, not terrible numbers from an overall perspective. That being said, there are a couple of key points that I really like here. For starters, at home for some reason, his data is not that great. The whip is pretty high, but FIP, batting average against, xFIP, it's all okay. Nothing great there. The key thing for me here is the data versus right-handed hitters, and obviously JT Realmuto is a right-handed hitter. You see, besides the walk rate and the GB/FB rate, everything else is in the yellow or red, but specifically the batting average against 288, obviously very high, clearly indicated in the red zone. So pretty good matchup from that perspective. Again, not necessarily the best matchup of all time, but pretty good data there for the most part. And looking at JT Realmuto's numbers here over the last month, he's having a lot of success hitting against right-handed pitchers. Maybe even the most successful hitter in this Phillies lineup versus righties over the last month. 338 batting average, obviously it's the highest of anybody in this Phillies lineup versus right-handed pitchers over the last 30 days. Now, his OPS isn't necessarily the highest, but 795, still in the green zones, still very high. And if we do go ahead and jump back over to the Outlier screen here, you can see even from an overall perspective in 2025, he's had a lot of success hitting off of right-handed pitchers. You see a 315 batting average, 132.1 WRC plus versus right-handed pitchers all season long. So of late, from an overall season view, everything looks pretty solid in terms of JT Realmuto hitting off of right-handed pitchers. And again, there's Martin's numbers down below. Actually, the ERA, the batting average, allowed WOBA, all those numbers are a little bit higher versus right-handed batters. So obviously that spells very well for us when it comes to this individual player prop. And one final point on that last player prop, guys, the White Sox bullpen, when Martin comes out, it's A-okay because the White Sox bullpen, they rank bottom half in the league in terms of ERA and whip. So pretty good matchup across the board. That's our fourth and final player prop in today's video. And that's it for us today, guys. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. We will be back tomorrow with another MLB Player Prop video. Until then, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Monday. Let's have a great week. I hope you guys all have a fantastic start to the week, whatever you're doing, whether you're working, whether you got the day off. I don't know what your schedule is like, but whatever you're doing today, make it great. Have a great week. Let's go ahead and make some money. Until next time, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Monday.